Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this month Oracle Visual Builder office hours. And this month we're going to talk all about extending Oracle Fusion Cloud applications with Visual Builder and Visual Builder Studio. We'll give you an overview of the new capabilities that we introduced in the latest version and what you as an Oracle SaaS customer can do today. My name is Shai Schmelzer, part of the product management team. And with me today are also Murtaza and Steve, who are also in the product management team. They are working with our Fusion Cloud Apps developers and customers, even the early adopters of the technology, and they'll be monitoring the Q&A session that we have today. So if during the session at any point of time you have a question, there's a Q&A button in the Zoom. Feel free to click on this Q&A, post your questions over there, and we'll be happy to answer those during the seminar. Hopefully, we'll also have some time at the end to cover any questions that we didn't had a chance to address during the session. But in any case, don't wait with your questions, just post them over there, and Murtaza and Steve would be happy to answer those over there. I'm going to shut off our cameras right now to have the full screen for the slides, and let's start today's seminar. So, what we're going to talk about today is how Visual Builder allows any Oracle Cloud Apps customer to take the applications that Oracle provides and extend them very easily. So first of all, for those of you who might not be up to speed on what is Visual Builder and the Visual Builder platform, Visual Builder platform is actually composed of two services. There's the Visual Builder and there's the Visual Builder Studio. And together, those two services allow you to create, extend, and host enterprise application using a very visual approach for application development, allowing you to also collaborate among the team members of the development team to allow you to share the code using Git-based version management and to do continuous integration and delivery automation using pipelines. Okay. This platform basically looks like this. You have the design time area, which is Visual Builder Studio. This is where you get the visual design experience. This is where you have the Git repository, the continuous integration and delivery, ability to do code reviews, as well as manage the whole development process with tracking tasks, to-dos, features that you want to add, managing agile dashboards, and having a wiki to collaborate. All of this is used by the development team. And then once you build the application, you deploy it into our runtime, which you can get either as a standalone Visual Builder cloud service or as part of the Oracle Integration Cloud. And this is where your app is hosted for you. It also includes a built-in database, the ability to create business object, and to securely access external REST services. So this is the platform as you know it. Now, our internal development teams are actually using this top part, the Visual Studio development environment, to build our next generation of Oracle SaaS applications, the Oracle Fusion Cloud applications. The new modules are being built with Visual Builder Studio. Okay. This allows us and our developers to have a more rapid development experience building those applications. It allows them to create the cutting-edge Redwood experience for those applications. If you would look today in the modules that have already been delivered based on Visual Builder, you can distinctly see that those modules have been delivered on Visual Builder because they just look better and they perform better. Modules like the connection modules in HCM or the new digital sales in Oracle CX have already been delivered using a Visual Builder and are available for customers today. Now, the nice thing is that the same platform that our development teams are using is available for our customers to go over and extend the apps that we deliver. So if a customer wants to modify the pages that we delivered out of the box, they use the same platform that we use to develop those to do those changes. And the platform is Visual Builder Studio. And Visual Builder Studio today is enabled in every single Oracle SaaS instance out there. Okay, it's associated with the test instance of Oracle SaaS. So it's in every customer that has SaaS has access to Visual Builder Studio. The access is done from the test instance that they are provisioned. Okay, and from the test instance, if you go to the configuration menu, you would see Visual Builder over there today, and you'll be able to basically start to work with Visual Builder Studio to extend your Oracle SaaS applications. Now, you can do three types of things with Visual Builder Studio and Oracle SaaS. The first thing that you can do is you can modify the Redwood pages that Oracle deliver, the Redwood-based modules that Oracle deliver, using Visual Builder Studio. So Oracle created a page that looks in a specific way with specific functionality. And if you want to modify some things on this page, you'll be able to do it with Visual Builder Studio. The other thing that you can do with Visual Builder Studio that is included in Oracle SaaS is you can create your own new pages and applications on top of Oracle SaaS data, okay, and run them, and those would run on top of the Oracle SaaS infrastructure. Okay. You can also use the same Visual Builder Studio instance to develop new standalone applications that use the Redwood look and feel, that mesh up data from Oracle SaaS with data from external sources that can be used by both Oracle SaaS customer and external customer. But the minute that you want to do those mashups of external data, this is where you would also need the runtime instance of Visual Builder or Oracle Integration Cloud. So that's the third option. And we're going to go through each one of those options today with demos. Okay, so we'll start by talking about modifying an Oracle Cloud App page that Oracle delivers. Okay. So when you're looking at a page that was delivered with Visual Builder in Oracle SaaS in the test instance, you would have access to this functionality called Edit in Visual Builder. So from inside the page, on the menu on the right side, you would have this option over here of Edit Page in Visual Builder. This would open the page in Visual Builder Studio. It opens it in a specific view that allows you to do specific changes. And what level of changes you can do is controlled by the team that actually built the page. So the Oracle team that built the page that you're looking at can enable specific customizations on this page. The type of customizations that they usually enable are things like showing and hiding areas or specific fields on your page, rearranging the order of fields on your page, modifying the way that fields are displayed, conditionally show fields, for example, based on the role of someone, add calculated fields, and in some cases, they can even allow you to add your own content into a page that they develop. So this is all in their control, and this is available only for the new modules in Oracle SaaS, those that have been developed with Visual Builder and released with Visual Builder. There are a lot of modules like that already today, and you're going to see more and more modules like that coming up in the next years. Okay, so let me show you an example of how this would look like. So hopefully you can all see my Oracle SaaS page over here. I'm going to close the other tab. And in Oracle SaaS, there are various modules that you can access. For example, I'm going to show you in the Me area, there's the connection module, right? So over here, this is one place where you can, for example, look up employees. This module was created with Visual Builder, and therefore there's an edit page with Visual Builder option over here. That's not the only module. I know that I already showed this demo of modifying this page in another session we did in the past. So I'm going to go to the Journeys module in Oracle HCM. Journeys is basically all sorts of things that you do and are assigned to you. And this is, for example, the My Tasks page. Okay, and it shows you all the tasks as an employee that you're supposed to be doing. And this is, again, a page that was built with Visual Builder. You can look at the way that it looks like. And therefore, you have this option over here to edit page with Visual Builder. Okay, so I'm now not an Oracle developer. I'm a customer of Oracle. And I get the page that Oracle delivered, and I'm going to open it in my own Visual Builder Studio to modify the behavior. Okay. And again, this is something that you can also do on a bunch of CX modules today, and we also have some ERP and SCM modules that are in development and are going to be released soon for you to do those type of modifications. So as you can see, as I open the page, it opens up in Visual Builder, and it actually loads into my visual editor, and I see exactly what I saw in the page in the application, but now I see it in my design time environment. And on the right side, I can see the structure of the page. Okay, and I can, for example, pick up this dynamic form, this area, and I can modify it. So we can see, for example, there's an icon over here that right now looks the same for all the rows. There's this title over here, which is the task name. And maybe I want to change how these things look. So I can open our rule set editor. I have the default look that Oracle created, and I can create my own copy. So I can create the shy version of this page. Okay, and I can have this be conditioned on something. So there's a bunch of rules that I can condition it on, or I can just have an override for all the cases, which is what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to open my version of the look and feel. So in my version, for example, I don't want to show the icon because it's not meaningful for me, so I can remove it. Okay, I can rearrange fields, I can move them around. I can also go into fields and I can override the way that they look and feel. So for example, I can override and create a new template for the name field, so for the task name. So we'll call it big name, for example. Okay. And then I go into the design mode for this field. I'm going to get the default look and feel of the field initially, and then I can modify it and add my own stuff. So for example, maybe I need to have a little title above the field, and I can say task name, make it a little bit smaller like that. And then if I would now look at the field or at the page, this is how it's now going to look. The icon is gone. I have the task name up here and the field over here. The field right now shows as an actual input field, so I can actually go to the field and say, I actually want it to be a disabled read-only field, and then it would look like this. Okay, so as you can see, it's very easy to come over here and modify how things look like, move things around, add things to the page that Oracle delivers. And then if I would click publish, this would take my page and would basically have this version out there for our organization to use. Okay. So this is the first thing that you can do with Visual Builder Studio and Oracle SaaS. So again, the way I accessed it is by going from the page into the edit page in Visual Builder. And I can do this again for a bunch of modules inside Oracle SaaS. But in general, if you go over to the menu of your Oracle SaaS and you scroll down to the configuration area, one of your configuration tools now is Visual Builder. And you can also just click on Visual Builder from here and open the tool and start to work with it over here. And then you have access to all your projects and everything else that you manage here. Okay. So right now I'm going to work on another project that I'm working on, and we're going to transition into the next thing that you can do with Visual Builder and Oracle SaaS, and that's to actually go over and to say, hey, I want to have my own pages, my own little application on top of Oracle SaaS. So to do that, you'll basically go over here to the menu, and you're going to say, hey, I want to create my own extension. You call it new application extension. Okay, let's do something like accounts extension. I give it a name. I associate it with an instance of Oracle SaaS. Okay, and when I connect it to this environment of Oracle SaaS, it's going to go over and look up inside this Oracle SaaS into which applications I have access to as a user. Okay, or as a developer. And you can see over here, I have all sorts of things from CX and from HCM and other apps that I can just bring in and extend. What I'm going to do now is I'm not going to change an existing app. I'm going to pick the none option here, which is to create an empty extension that I can develop from scratch. By the way, if you're working with sandbox in your environments, we can also recognize the sandbox and use them over here. And then I'm going to create a new Git repository for my accounts application, and I'm going to create a branch, call it branch 1 in there. So I'm going to create this workspace, and I'm going to go back to the slides to explain a little bit more about the scenario that we're doing right now. So what we're doing right now is we're extending cloud apps with new pages and applications. Okay. So first of all, when would you want to do it, or why would you want to build those type of extensions? One reason is if there are changes in your business requirements. So Oracle SaaS gave you specific functionality, it still works, but there are some things that are a little different now in what you need to do. Maybe you have some unique business functionality or flow that you need to address. Maybe there's some specific new rule that you need to enforce. As an example, we can look at it later on. Let's say that you now suddenly need to track the COVID vaccine status for each one of your employees, and you need to build a little application that allows you to get data from HCM about the employees and then add some information about vaccines that you want to track. So that's an example of a new business functionality that you need to do. Another situation is an optimized user experience. For example, maybe you have inside Oracle SaaS a lot of pages that allow you to update information about all sorts of data, but you want to create a simplified approach to update specific parts of the data. Okay, maybe you want a simplified time entry interface, okay, for example. So you can create those type of things as new pages. Okay. There are other types of extensions and scenarios that you might want to create, cases where you want, for example, to expose data from Oracle SaaS to some non-SaaS customer, to some external customers. Maybe, for example, you have your set of products in ERP and you want to publish a page that has your product catalog available for external customers. Okay. Maybe you're tracking all your partners in your partner environment and you want to create a partner portal for people outside of CX. So in those cases, again, you can use Visual Builder to create those applications. And another thing is cases where you actually need to mesh up data from Oracle SaaS and data from external systems together in a single application. Okay. Maybe you're using HCM from Oracle and using a CRM from Salesforce, and you want to have a UI that meshes the two into some page. In those cases, again, you can use Visual Builder to create those pages. Okay. So as you've seen, right now inside Oracle Fusion Apps, I can actually click to open Visual Builder and then click to create a new application. Okay. The new application can have multiple pages in it. The applications that you create this way can access the data from Oracle Cloud Apps. So this would be any of the business object that Oracle Cloud Apps exposes as REST services, which is basically almost all of them. In addition, you can also access custom objects that you created in Oracle SaaS. For example, you can use the App Composer in Oracle SaaS to create your own business objects in Oracle SaaS, and you can access those from the applications that you're creating here. You can also even access external REST services as long as they are not requiring a specific external authentication. Once you create the application, you can publish it, and this would be accessible to customers or to users who have a user authenticated in Oracle SaaS. So you're using the same single sign-on to access those applications, same credentials that are used for Oracle SaaS. To deploy the application, you simply invoke a CI/CD pipeline that deploys it, and the application itself is deployed into the Oracle Cloud Apps infrastructure. So you don't require a standalone Visual Builder runtime instance. Okay. In fact, this is the architecture that you're now using when building the application. You're still developing with the same Visual Builder Studio, but the deployment is done into the Oracle SaaS environment, okay, into their hosting environment, and therefore the REST access is only to data in the Oracle SaaS ecosystem. Okay. I'm going to talk about one thing that is partly out there, but we're going to announce and give you a lot more information around CloudWorld, the yearly conference for Oracle, which is not only we allow you to build those applications, we want you to be able to build the application in the same way and in the same look and feel that Oracle builds those applications. So internally inside Oracle, we're using the Redwood user experience to develop the applications. We have a bunch of templates and page layouts and components that are used to build those pages. So our developers pick a template, use it, and build their application. And you are now able to do the same thing. We actually published a lot of our Redwood components in the component exchange in a Visual Builder, which you can pick up and use. We're still working on having a much better documentation and explanation of how to use each one of those, but you can actually use those and build your pages right now. Okay, so let's see a demo of how you do that. So we were over here, we created our new app extension, and you're being directed again into the same Visual Builder, okay? But the layout looks a little bit different because you're developing what we now call app UIs. Okay, so those are the extensions to Oracle SaaS, new pages that you're going to design. So I'm going to create a new app UI. I'm going to call this the Accounts app UI. And if previously we worked on HCM, this time we're going to work on some CX data in our application. So if you're familiar with Visual Builder, it's the same thing that you're already familiar with. We saw the page flow diagram, and then you go into the page. You have all the components here that you can drag and drop into the page. Now, one of the things that you will notice is that there's a lot more scrolling that I can do over here now, because beyond all of the components that we had before, now we start to see all the Redwood components. Analytics component, collections component, controls and navigation, all sorts of form-specific components, and a bunch of layout components that I can use over here. Okay, so a lot more components and templates, okay, all sorts of Redwood templates that I can leverage in my application. Okay, so let's pick up one of those templates. I'm going to use the data management page template and drop it on my page. And you can see that I have a layout for a page right now, with a bunch of properties that I can set. So for example, the page title is going to be accounts, edit, account details. Okay, so there's a bunch of properties that I can set for the template. For example, the submit button, this is what we call our primary action for this page. And I can modify it. I can say, hey, my primary action over here would be edit. Okay. I can also add additional secondary actions. For example, I can add an action that would be maybe a delete. Maybe I would want to delete an item. Okay, so this would become an action over here. If I switch to live mode, now the delete action is available over here. Okay, so this is one of the templates that we have. And again, the other thing that I'm going to use a collection container, which is again a Redwood container, which I can bring into the default area over here. And a collection container, again, has a bunch of options. I can, for example, add the add button, delete button, and the columns button, and I get those automatically to show up here. Okay. So this is how you work with our Redwood templates. And as you can see, it's built in. The look and feel over here is going to be the same look and feel that we saw over here. So if I go back into the journeys and into one of those pages, okay, if we look at the my tasks, you can see the look and feel. It's basically, so it's the same thing that I'm designing here. One thing that they have here in the template, they are actually using what we call the mixed mode. So this looks the same color over here as the title over here. They also are using the search template, which adds the search button, but you can see my page doesn't have the search. It has the same banner over here in the page that I'm designing. Same type of button, same sizing, same everything else. Okay. Now, in my case, I want to create a simplified way for us to update some important information about accounts. So again, if you go into the Oracle SaaS application, there is a digital sales module over here. And in digital sales, you have the accounts, and there's a page that Oracle created already. And you can see this is a CX page. It's also being created with Visual Builder, therefore the same look and feel. And therefore, in the menu, I would have the edit page with Visual Builder. And you see a lot of information about accounts. Maybe I want to create something that is a little bit more focused on specific pieces of data. So I'm creating a new page for accounts that is an additional page. I'm not replacing the existing one. So the first thing I want to do is I want to access the accounts information. And to do that, I'm going to go over to the service and define a service connection and choose something from my catalog of services. And I'm fetching now which objects I have access to. Okay, and this depends on the specific user that I'm logged in with right now and what privileges this user has. So my user, for example, has the ability to access information from the CX application and HCM application, and also ERP. And I can see ERP and supply chain over here, HCM over here. Right now, we're going to work with the sales and services application. So I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to get a list of all the business object in Oracle CX that I can access. And as you can see, it's a very long list over here. I'm actually interested in accounts, so I'm just going to click here on accounts and click create. And now accounts is part of the things that I can use in my page. If I go back to the page I'm designing, okay, under data and services, now I have my accounts. And I can take the accounts, drag and drop them into my collection and drop them into the default as a table. Sorry, I think I dropped it into the wrong place. Let's see, table. Yeah. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fetch the list of fields that an account has. And again, there's a lot of information we're keeping about accounts. I'm not interested in all of this. I'm interested in some specific things. I'm interested to know the organization name. That's the name of the company. I want to know who's the owner on our side and what's the CEO name. What's the name of the CEO? That's the part of information that I want my Salesforce to update. So I want them to be able to go over to each one of the accounts that we're tracking and document in the system the CEO name. Okay. By the way, we can also look at the revenue field. So let's look at the potential revenue for next year. And I'm picking up those fields, putting them on the table in our collection container. And again, this is the regular table that you're familiar with the same properties over here. I can also, for example, go over and modify the style of this table. Let's set the height to be 500 pixels, like that. And this would allow me to scroll the table over here and see all my accounts and the information. And then as I can see, a lot of the accounts, I have the account information, but I don't actually have the name of the CEO, and I don't have information about what we expect from their potential revenue. So I want to let my accounts team update this easily. So I'm creating a page that gives them the list. And then from here, I can also use the quick start to let them edit the data in Oracle SaaS again on the accounts objects. I'm going to create a little page that shows me, again, the organization name, the CEO name, and the revenue. Right? So I want to show the potential revenue for next year. So this creates the edit page for editing those accounts. Now I can very easily take my template over here that has the edit button. Okay, so this template has events, and one of the events is the primary action. And remember, we set the primary action to be the edit action. So I'm going to hook up to this action chain, and I'm going to call the action chain to navigate to the edit page. And I need to pass in the account that I'm going to edit. So we'll just do this. Okay, the selected account. And that's it. This is my little application now. And I can hit the run button. And this would take my application and create a preview for me where I can test my application. Now, again, this whole thing is done directly from the Visual Builder Studio that is available in each one of your Oracle SaaS accounts, okay, associated with the test instance. And you can simply go over and start to develop and run new pages. So now I can see a bunch of companies over here. Okay, I can pick up a specific company like Dixon Industries, click the edit button. Okay, go over and edit, update their executive name, and maybe it's Tony Stark, for example. And what's the expected revenue? They're going to give us $1 million next year. Save. And this basically saves the data back into Oracle SaaS. So now in Oracle SaaS, this information is stored in there. Okay. By the way, the templates that you get from the Redwood team are responsive templates. So if you take the same page and you resize it, okay, you can see the menu options are now are up here. Probably need to do a refresh, so it would adjust to the size of the device. Yeah, and you also have the menu up here. This is the whole Oracle SaaS menu. Okay, the edit is now available as a button over here, so we automatically resize things based on the size of the screen. This is one of the properties of the templates, the Redwood templates that we provide out of the box. Okay. So let's go back to the slides. This was a demo of how you take and extend and create new pages and new application in Oracle SaaS. Oh, before I go over here, one more thing. Once you tested it and you're happy with the result, you can simply click publish. Okay, this would actually take your application and publish it so other people in your organization can go over and use it. And again, if you're familiar with Visual Builder Studio, you're familiar with all this functionality. We already had this available for you for regular Visual Builder developers. Now it's also integrated into Oracle SaaS directly. So what it's doing right now, it's going to take the changes I made here in a bunch of pages and commit them into my Git repository. So we'll create the accounts app initial version. And then I'm going to click publish changes. I need to provide here the username and password for my account. And this would take this and not only push it into my Git repository where I'm managing all the code for my application, and I'll be able to then branch and merge and do versions on top of the application that I'm building here. But after it pushes it into the Git repository, it's also going to merge it into the main line, and it's going to invoke a CI/CD pipeline that would take those changes I did and publish them and deploy them to my environment. Okay, so if we now go back, I'm going to close this, and we're going to go back into Visual Builder Studio just to show you those parts of the functionality. Okay, click here. If I now go into my build step, you would see that I have a build in my queue waiting for an executor to take my accounts application, package it, and deploy it. Okay? This is part of a pipeline. So right now, I'm running the accounts package step, and then we're going to do the deploy step. Now, if we look, for example, at the deploy step and the configuration here, okay, the step over here does a deployment, an Oracle deployment into an Oracle application cloud instance. Okay, and it deploys what we call a VX extension. And this is one of the steps that you can do here for an application extension, okay? Which is a little different than doing it for a regular visual application. So visual application, again, we have the package and deploy. In the deployment step, if you add a deployment, you can choose here if you're deploying to a Visual Builder runtime or deploying to Oracle Cloud Apps, which is what I'm doing right now. All right, so we're going to let our pipeline execute right now. We're going to wait for the executor to pop up, deploy it, and then we'll be able to see our application. Let's go back to the slides and talk a little bit more about what else can you do. So we saw all the functionality that is built into Oracle SaaS. By the way, if you want to try this type of functionality I just did on your instance, we just published a tutorial. It's a very short tutorial, take you about 15-20 minutes to complete it. It's a part of our documentation that covers how to build such an extension. Okay, so you start from your Oracle SaaS test instance, invoke the similar steps to what I did right now, and you build a little extension. So it's part of our docs page. So you go to docs.oracle.com, and under the Visual Builder Studio part, in the tutorials part, we have an extension tutorial that you can follow and try it out on your own. So those type of extensions are what we call the app UI extensions. But in some cases, you want to go beyond that. Okay, and when you want to go beyond that, that's when you actually need a Visual Builder runtime instance. So you can spin up a Visual Builder cloud service instance directly from your cloud environment. And you would need a standalone Visual Builder instance to run your application if you want to create an application that is accessible, for example, by people outside of the registered SaaS users. So maybe you have some people in your company that don't have access to SaaS, but they still need access to the data. You can then create an application and run it on Visual Builder. Maybe you need an application that is accessible for people outside of your organization. And then again, you can create it and run it on Visual Builder. Another scenario where you would need a Visual Builder runtime is if you want to access external secured REST services. So REST services that are for data that is outside Oracle SaaS that require you to authenticate in various ways, you can do that. Also, for example, if you need to access data from an external database or a database that is not the Oracle SaaS database, it's another scenario where you would want to use Visual Builder. Also, if you want to store data in a database that is outside of the Oracle SaaS database, basically use the business object capabilities in Visual Builder. Those cases would require you to go and use your own Visual Builder instance. Nice thing is that you still get the same development environment and experience. You can still use the same Visual Builder Studio instance to do the development. Now, this is, again, you can create any type of application with Visual Builder. In our context today, we're going to talk about the specific features that then allow you to leverage this with Oracle SaaS more tightly. And you still get access to things like the service catalog. You can still create applications that use the same credentials for Oracle SaaS and for your application, and basically do a single sign-on across your custom application and your SaaS application and do identity propagation. When we work with the services from Oracle SaaS, we know how to do the smart things. We know how to do pagination and filtering and sorting and manage relationships. All of those are built-in capabilities. And we also give you the same look and feel, the Redwood look and feel, although you can also create your own look and feel for applications if you want to. And then you're back into this full architecture of using the same Visual Builder Studio to develop and deploying to a standalone runtime. Okay. Let me show you again a quick example of this. Just before we do that, we can see this pipeline is running right now. It's picking up package 1. Okay, we can look at this back later on when it's finished. I'm going to go back to my to my project. And what I'm going to show you is that under my environments, I actually have 2 environments. The development environment, which I worked on up until now, is an instance of Oracle Application Cloud. But in addition, I have this standalone Visual Builder instance, which is an Oracle integration instance, which has the runtime for Visual Builder. And then I can go over and create a new project. And this time, instead of application extension, I'm going to create a visual application. Let's create the COVID tracker application. Okay, I'm going to assign it to my standalone Visual Builder instance. And again, I can pick up templates over here, or I can just use the template, and I'm going to click create to spin up a new workspace that would work and deploy to this standalone Visual Builder. And then again, I'm going to get the full regular experience of developing with Visual Builder from the Visual Builder Studio over here, and I'm free to create my own little application. So let's say I want to create an application that tracks the vaccine status of my employees. So I'm going to create my business object that tracks my own little set of information. So we'll call it a vaccine status. And inside this vaccine business object, I'm going to define my own set of fields. Okay, so I'm going to, for example, what I want to track is I want to track the name of the employee. So I call it emp name. Okay, and what's their vaccine status. Okay. And I can also add, let's say, the name of the employee. Okay, and what's their vaccine status. Okay. And I can also add, let's say, the name of the employee. Okay. And I can also add, let's say, the name of the employee. Okay. And I can also add, let's say, the name of the employee. Okay. And I can also add vaccine date, okay, which would be like a little date field over here. Okay. Then I can go over and create me a little new web application. Can choose a layout. Can have some status and maybe some statistics. And maybe I don't need the third, and create this over here. And this takes me to my regular page layout editor, where I can work with my components to create my application. So for example, I can add a panel, drop it over here, and then into this panel, I can pick up for my business object, this new vaccine business object, and I'm gonna drop it on this page as a create page. Okay, so this would allow me to insert information about each employee and their status. Okay. Vaccine date and vaccine status. All right. Now, one of the things I might want to do is I might want to actually not just type in the name of the employee, I might want to pick up the employee from the list of employees I have in my Oracle HCM application, Human Capital Management. So I can still go to the service connection, work with the catalog, pick up the catalog for HCM, the list of basically all the objects that are in my HCM system. And again, it's a very long list. I'm specifically interested in the worker object over here. So I'm going to expand this one and pick up just the workers endpoints. And now on this new page that I'm creating over here, I can pick up, for example, a select component, drop it inside this form, let's say just after, or maybe after here, for example, okay, and hook it up to data that is coming from my HCM workers REST API. Okay. And again, I'm going to fetch all the fields that I can get about an employee. I'm actually not interested in all the fields. I just need to know the name of the employee. So that would be the display name of the employee. Give it a second to fetch all those fields. And by the way, as you would see, it also fetches related fields, so things that are in related objects, okay, and like citizenship and stuff like that. But I'm just interested in the display name. I'm gonna pick this up for my list and change the title here to emp name, okay? And I can have this populate the same variable that I had before for the vaccine. This would be not the vaccine date, sorry, but rather the employee name, like that. And this is my little application now. I can go over, look up all my employees. This goes over to HCM, fetches the list of employees. I can do a search on it. Again, as I said, we know how to do filtering, stuff like that. I can pick up Bala and update that they just got their vaccine this weekend, something like that, and save this information into my own little database of vaccine tracking system. And now I'm ready to pick up the next employee. Okay. So all of this is done from the same interface, same development tool, same source of data, but now with external data as well inside Visual Builder Studio. Okay. That's just one more application that I developed now in over here. By the way, let's see if our pipeline that we ran finished. Go back to the build. And we can see, yeah, there's nothing in the queue. If we look at the pipeline, the accounts one finished, everything finished successfully, which means that if I go back to my environments and I look at my Oracle application instance, under deployments now, I would see my accounts application deployed over there. Okay. So again, as I mentioned, the nice thing here is that this deploys into the same infrastructure that hosts your Oracle SaaS, uses the same credentials, and you can actually, if I open this application and you would look at the URL over here, this is the URL to my FA instance, and I have my little accounts application available for me over here to work with, and all my members of my team can now access the same application at the same URL, log in with the same SaaS credentials, and use the application. All right, so let's finish up with just a few Q&As, questions that you might already have asked on the Q&A panel. If not, I know those are commonly popping up. So one of the questions we get a lot is, can I modify every page in Oracle SaaS with Visual Builder? This is the way that I showed over here, modifying, for example, the accounts page. So the answer is no. You can only modify pages that were created with Visual Builder using Visual Builder. The other pages still use things like Page Composer to do modifications on them. But the list of modules in Oracle SaaS that are based on Visual Builder and allow you customization with Visual Builder is constantly growing. We are adding more and more pages like this to our application, so you can use them and modify them this way. Can I create extensions, API extensions on SaaS data that is not in a VB UI? So as I said, not all the modules in Oracle SaaS have UI built on VB, but in terms of extensions that you're creating, new pages, new applications, yes, you can access any of the data that is in Oracle SaaS that is exposed to the REST interfaces, including for modules that are not currently created with VB. So you can create your own VB page, for example, that access data from the ERP product catalog, from the ERP receipts catalog, or anything else over there. Okay, so anything that is exposed in our service catalog, you can create a UI on top of it. When do I need a standalone Visual Builder instance versus when do I run on the existing apps infrastructure? You only need a standalone Visual Builder instance if you want external secured REST services data integrated into your application, or if you want to create applications that are accessible by non-SaaS users. Okay, so people who don't have a SaaS account. In terms of custom business object, one of the things that you can do is you can actually create custom business object with App Composer in Oracle SaaS, and then build Visual Builder UIs on top of them with Visual Builder. We have a video that shows how to do it in our playlist for a SaaS extension on our YouTube channel. And the last question that we often get is, can I use the Visual Builder Studio instance that come with SaaS to work on non-SaaS things? So yes, you can, in terms of managing DevOps for and CI/CD for any type of project. You can use the Visual Builder Studio that is in there. And as you saw, you can also hook it up to an external Visual Builder instance or Oracle integration instance and use that Visual Builder Studio instance to develop applications over there. All right, so let's see what else do we have to cover today. So that's basically what we wanted to demonstrate to you today. Few key points to take away. The new modules in Oracle Fusion Cloud Apps are built with Visual Builder. The same tool, same Visual Builder is used by you as a customer to take those modules, extend them, customize them, and modify them as needed. The same tool and utilities and the same components can be used to create your own new pages and application on the data that is stored in Oracle SaaS. Okay. In addition, the same tool can be used to create your own bespoke apps that do whatever you want it to do. If you want to learn more about what we just showed you, a few sources. In our documentation at docs.oracle.com, if you go to the Visual Builder Studio part, we have a full book about extending Oracle SaaS with Visual Builder. Covers everything from the setup steps to how you build those extensions and manage them the way that I just did over here. On our blogs at blogs.oracle.com/VBCS, we just published a couple of blogs entries that show you kind of the type of demo that I just showed you now, explains the architecture. We also have another blog that shows you how to access external REST services and how to access a business object that you created using the App Composer. We also have a YouTube channel, and in the YouTube, we now have a playlist that is called Extending Oracle SaaS. So if you go to YouTube and you search for Visual Builder Cloud Service channel, you'll see a playlist called Extending Oracle SaaS. It shows you how to modify existing page, create new pages, build new pages outside of SaaS, build pages that access data from App Composer, and even how to take external Visual Builder application and embed them into Oracle SaaS using single sign-on to do the integration. Now, whenever we publish something new like this, new blog entry, new video, stuff like that, we notify people on our LinkedIn group. So if you're not part of our LinkedIn group, go over to LinkedIn, search for Visual Builder, and you will find a public group that you can join. And we would let you know every time that we have new videos, new blogs, or seminars like the seminar today over there, so you can join. And that's basically it. This is what we wanted to cover today. Let me see if there's any open questions that we still need to answer. This video, by the way, is going to be recorded and available for replay for people both on our YouTube channel and also at the same URL where you registered for this seminar. It's going to be over there. I see that our team has been very busy answering questions. I don't see anything that is still open.
Hey, Shai.
Yeah.
There is one question from an attendee who's asking, how we can link custom applications to HCM. So
yeah,
I would think they would go about building this using App UI, but
so yeah, so there's two options there. Like you can create the applications either using App UI or a standalone VB. Then in terms of actually having this option inside HCM, you can use the page composer in HCM to add things into your page, whether it's to actually embed the application inside Oracle SaaS or to just add things like a menu option. This is done with the, I think it's called the external. It's one of the configuration page tools that I have here. Let me switch over just into the configuration tools that you have in here. Beyond Visual Builder, you have something called a page integration, which allows you to basically add integration to external pages into Oracle SaaS and basically just add menu options that invoke App UI application. And that's how you add basically menu options into your application. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but it basically allows you to add new items that link to external URLs, like you can see over here. And one of those URLs can be a URL for either an App UI or a VB app. So that's an easy way to add integration into the app itself. Right. If we don't have any further questions, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. This seminar would be recorded and available for replay if you want to share it with other members of your team, or if you want to rewatch the videos. And we're hoping to see you next month in our next office hours, which should be on the new features of the next versions of Visual Builder. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.